Hey.
Hey everybody, this is Lobster Magnet with my buddy Gorogregoro. We are here very excited today to talk about a new series that I think is like the best thing to come out of like all the pilots of Jump when they did like this unprecedented six series thing. And this to me is the clear winner. I think this is a chance of like potentially becoming the next big thing. And it is Doctor Stone. So Greg here, we're going to do a review of the most recent chapter. We're also going to do a little bit of a series overview. So, Greg, what do you think of Doctor Stone so far?
Uh, all right. I really like the artwork for this. It feels like a unique style. Uh, I
Well,
just
let
like
me.
the line art. I just like all the detail in this post-apocalyptic world. Uh, the character designs are pretty neat as well. Yeah. I like where the story is going so far. I didn't like the beginning so much,
I'm
like the start
surprised
of
you like
it.
the beginning. Like, I thought the beginning was like the strongest part so far.
Um,
Why do you like the beginning?
well, like late, like not the beginning, but like a little bit later on, where it's just like we got the super dumb main character who's kind of like one dimensional. He's just like, I am
Yeah,
endurance man. I'm going to protect my love interest,
my
and
waifu.
I
Yeah,
am.
he's boring as hell.
Yeah. And then the
he,
scientist guy is also a little bit one dimensional too. He's just like, I am science man. I'm going to rebuild civilization. You must help me, endurance man. And they're like, okay, let's help each other. It's not until they unleash the other guy that it becomes way more interesting, I feel.
I will give you that. Like, obviously, having more characters, adds more drama and more complexity. But one thing I sort of love about the series is sort of like, we can rebuild civilization. We're gonna science the shit out of it.
Yes.
I'm just gonna use my incredible knowledge and drop like various, useful, informative science-tainment as
Yes.
we, build up our, way towards rebuilding human civilization. And that to me is super interesting. Like sometimes like you don't really necessarily need like a super great story. You just need like a really interesting problem to be solved. That's the
Yes.
example like The Martian. The Martian is a basically it's a series where there's a guy who's stuck on Mars, and the question, the interesting drama doesn't come so much about like the guy who's like stuck on Mars, but more along the lines of you know how is he going to get off Mars? How is he going to use his tools to communicate with Earth? He has this huge insurmountable problem, and the drama of him solving that problem is interesting enough to like carry the narrative. And to a certain lesser extent, you could say this is also with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is basically a soap opera, but it does have the question of like what does a world after the zombie credits roll in a zombie world look like? How do people rebuild? What is the civilization that comes as they try and capture their technological heritage and build things anew? And what does that world look like? And that's like sort of a question that sort of starts getting addressed much later in the comics once they have like more stability. I think that's like a very very what keeps the series interesting, even if like the soap opera and the repeating story arcs can get a little wearisome. And Doctor Stone obviously is like the fantastical thing. Everyone's turned into stone. It's 3,000 years in the future, but now
3,700 years in the future.
3,700 years, and I do love that pilot chapter where he's just like, the dumb endurance guy is just like, how much
I
time
gotta
has
stay
passed?
awake. I
Millennials,
gotta
I
stay
gotta
awake.
stay awake.
Ah, I'm enduring. I'm endurance,
Exactly.
man.
Exactly. That's what like makes Shonen manga stand out is like these incredible tests of willpower
Uh,
of these characters like pushed to their limit and going above and beyond.
yes.
And like the more severe that penalty is that we see the characters endure, like the more invested we generally get. The
Yeah.
better job you do of selling it.
Yeah. That's definitely too. I agree. And I love like how they endured the whole uh, Stone Age thing, like how the endurance guy endures it, and how the the smart guy
Yeah, yeah.
endures
He
it.
just counts forever.
He
He
just
just
counts all the whole way through to
yeah.
keep his mind active.
Just keep his mind active as he prepares for like eventually breaking out. And did you like the little Donald Trump cameo?
Yeah, that was kind of dumb, but also I did enjoy that. Yes,
It's funny. Someday I might write an article. Like Donald Trump's been appearing in a lot of fucking manga recently.
I'm not
He,
surprised.
yeah, the people have been drawing him. They haven't been any like explicit political statements, but there is a sort of sense that like we've elected this cartoon character, so why not make him into a cartoon character in manga?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I I am not surprised at all, honestly, that he's making an appearance in like any he's making an appearance in manga, in general. So
Yeah, so there's definitely a fair amount of them, but I still love the interesting question of like, how do we rebuild civilization? How do we rebuild things from scratch? How do we reclaim our technological heritage? And yeah, in some ways, like the characters are kind of like boring and a little bit one note, but I think that sort of enthusiasm and an interesting problem of like, where do we go from here? And there's also the sort of question of like, in some ways, like this isn't as smart of a series as Promised Neverland. But it is very energetic and fun, and it has the same sense that like these are characters who don't have superpowers. Their superpower is basically Dr. Stone's scientific intellect and him using the power of science to recreate the technological heritage.
yeah, I like the little drops of like scientific knowledge, every now and then in the series. It reminds me a lot of like the appeal of like Hunter. Uh, those
Although
random ass factoids in Hunter x Hunter.
it feels a little bit more like Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Bill Linus.
You can make alcohol and vinegar from mixing grapes, but don't do it at home unless you're 21 years old.
And it's brilliant because you have to explain it. Like the science guy has to explain it to endurance guy, because endurance guy is so like dumb and simple minded, so he has to break it down as like A, B, and C. So it's like basically it's like a Bill Nye the Science Guy science lesson within the manga.
Yeah, which for me, who's like never going to be good at science and is always going to like just like only enjoy the edutainment bullshit, is super fun. I love that. That's half the reason why I like. There's this other series, long running series, Shokugeki no Soma or Shokugeki Soma, Food Wars, and basically it's all about cooking in this hyper stylized format. And occasionally they drop like real life food lore, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. 1/2 soba versus 1/3 soba, and the antioxidants of the soba for the rich aroma. I feel like I'm learning something.
Yes. Well, I've never read that series personally, but
I don't know.
I heard really good things about it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you'd enjoy it. I don't know if it's like something I would like strong arm you into like reading, unless you really like develop a passion for cooking. Although I do find I do kind of like things where they have a hyper shonen aesthetic for like things that you can actually create yourself. Like cooking is a superpower that you can have in real life. And
I
pretty
guess
much
so.
everything they do is like something you could do hypothetically, just
Or
like Dr. Stone.
or like a shonen manga based on the game called Game Go, or like golf, or a children's card game.
Or volleyball. There's a really popular volleyball manga going on right now, Haikyuu. Or
Oh yeah.
basketball. There's an inherent appeal to sports stuff that's actually in the real world that we will never be able to, get the skill and sophistication as a fictional manga character. But we hypothetically could if we just only had the drive and determination to.
By the way, I feel like this is kind of really random thing to say, but I feel like the character design for Science Guy is based off of the Eye Shield 21 Hiruka.
I don't think so. Like,
In
what I
some
would
ways.
really recommend you to do is like another thing that like here's like why Doctor Stone I think is a pivotal comic. It's drawn by this guy named Boichi, and Boichi is a manhwa artist.
I know.
A Korean manga artist.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, Korean manga is manhwa is like basically Korea's form of manga. It's a thriving industry. It hasn't quite like gotten the same international sensation that fucking anime and manga has become like this international export. But the fact that like a prominent and he used to do this comic called Sunken Rock, and if you look it up, like look up Sunken Rock right now, Greg. Just type in Sunken Rock Google image search.
can rock. Oh my god, that's fucking intense.
What'd you say?
That's fucking intense. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like Ken, as in like Ken from Street Fighter, right? Or
Oh yeah.
but
You see the artwork there? You see some
yes,
similarities there? You see a little Dr. Stone there?
but he's working with the same guy who wrote I Shield 21,
Yes,
though, right?
right. Yeah, he's the artist. Eye Shield 21 guy is the writer of it. So it's an artist writer collaboration duo.
Holy smokes, this artwork.
But I feel like the whatchamacallit, the Ken character in Sun Ken Rock. I think his name's Ken. I don't really know what his name is. He reminds me. His character design reminds me of Dr. Stone, or Science Guy.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah. It is pretty similar looking now that I see it. I was confused, thinking to myself like, oh, this is like obviously maybe the writer wrote in kind of like it was a reference to I Shield 21, Hiruma.
No, this is like basically an artist who like has an archetype he likes drawing and drawing a new version of an archetype. There's this other series that started off called Hungry Mary. I was kind of excited about it because it's from this mangaka who did Beelzebub. Beelzebub was kind of like a middle of the road Shonen Jump series. It never quite really took off. It got an anime adaptation, but the anime adaptation didn't cover everything in the manga. Never really got a great reception. The manga itself is basically about this guy who's like, oh, I'm the strongest juvenile delinquent, and I have to raise the Demon King's baby because the Demon King's too lazy. And it had some absolutely brilliant comic movie moments, but didn't quite rise above its station to like hit that next level. And I was like really rooting for the guy though, because I enjoyed parts of Beelzebub for Hungry Murray. And the thing about Hungry Murray is that like he reuses like half of the character designs from Beelzebub. For like half the cast is like just retrofitted versions of his old characters. And there's part of me that's like, fuck you. This is a shitty premise. This is not like working for me. The stupid body swap thing is lame. Like, come on, man. Why are you being so lazy and like reusing half your cast from Beelzebub? Motherfucker. Grow. Grow as an artist. Expand your horizons.
Well, even if this guy is using some of his previous designs, I think, his art in particular is it stands out. In the sea of manga.
It stands out. It's a super fun, energetic series. It makes me feel like a kid and want to go invest in a STEM career until I learn that STEM is like cold, crushingly difficult and boring and hard and not fun. And most people hate it.
Well, the splash pages, the splash color pages are beautiful. He's got a great sense of anatomy. He just draws almost everything very well in the comic. Such dynamic shapes for all the characters and designs and stuff. Beautiful stuff.
It's definitely really good art. I definitely am really enjoying it. So let's talk about not Sunken Rock, Dr. Stone's second half. What do you think of the introduction of the third character, the world's strongest high schooler primate guy?
Such a wonderful title for
It's so dumb. Why is he the
for
worst?
Just a high schooler?
Fucking make any sense because he's like super sexy Tarzan. Whatever. I'll go with it. I'll go with it. He's the world's strongest primate.
It just makes sense in manga writing terms. It's just like, it's that guy. He was such a badass in high school that. I heard he almost got arrested or some shit like that. He beat up a horse or whatever.
He kills lions in the first few minutes of,
that he's resurrected.
Awakening as he shoots fucking rocks at them.
He shoots rocks at them and then like punches the male lion with his bare hands. He's
just such a badass. It's interesting the line where it crosses like. This is supposed to be a realistic series, supposedly, but it has like a high energy premise and over the top aesthetic that sort of gives it a greater than reality kind of thing.
Yeah, it does. Well, I mean, it is a post-apocalyptic scenario, so they're probably saying like, oh, these are only the strongest kind of humans will survive in the post-apocalyptic environment, even if it is a little bit unrealistic, which is fine. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a kind of a fantastical setting.
It's a fun fantasy. It's a fun fantasy to think that like we would like wake up and then we'd be able to rebuild civilization and we'd be just like awesome hunters and gatherers and build all these fun gadgets and just like hang out all day. And that's what like really good manga does. It gives you like sort of a fun fantasy setting that you just want to live in.
Yeah. So eventually, the primate guy, the best fighter guy,
We can call him
primate guy.
This series is like, once it's maybe 30 chapters in, maybe then we can like be expected to actually know their names. But it's the phase where it's just like scientist guy, endurance guy, cute girl Chan, and primate guy.
I could call it love interest too, but whatever. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
love-
primate guy is like, I want to make the society even better than what it was previously. So I'm gonna smash all the adult statues because they represent everything that was wrong with society to begin with. I'm gonna start fresh with young people. And the scientist guy, immediately has a conflict there. He's like, no, I want to save everyone with my science. I want to, save everyone and rebuild society from that. And so they start to have this struggle, which is very intense and interesting. And they eventually have to go and get gunpowder in order to fight him properly, because he's too strong.
So
He's too
incredible. He
strong
catches
and
an
fast.
arrow out of like the thin air, and he's just so powerful. I have mixed feelings. Like in some ways, I like the primate guy's like philosophy. Like I think that's interesting. The whole idea is like if we just bring back everyone, they'll just like this land is mine. They'll bring back all the things terrible about the previous society. I don't want that. I want this to be a pure world. But like I feel like his motivation for wanting to kill scientist guys is like too extreme. I feel like okay, you want to do that? You go over there. Let us do here. The fact that it's like I have to kill you now just feels a little bit artificial and forced in the sense that like, oh, we need a villain in these first few storylines.
Yeah, I don't know. Him killing like, just like a bunch of statues, breaking a bunch of adult statues, is a bit extreme. I feel. I mean, his motivation makes sense. Like makes a lot of sense. I feel, and also the scientist guy makes a lot of sense. Motivation makes a lot of sense.
What I would have liked to have seen, I mean, I still can't be too critical of this series. It's still in its infancy. We're like only 10 chapters in. And like that's what I kind of love about it. It can go anywhere. Just like Promised Neverland, it's just like unfulfilled potential. Like just like the enemies, the environment. It's a survival story. Ooh, that's so fun and exciting.
Yeah.
But if I was to make a complaint, I would have like preferred them to like both go off into their two camps, form their two new civilizations, and then maybe there's like some resource where like there's like a wellspring that like a scientist guy wants to use to make a dam to build electricity, but whatchamacallit, primate guy wants to use it as a spring that only his pure can are allowed to bathe in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some stupid bullshit like that. Basically, there's some resource in this world that's limited that they both need, and then they fight over that. And then they have the two civilizations clash. That, to me, would be much more interesting.
Maybe. Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we're building up to that. We'll get to the chapter 10 discussion soon. We're still like kind of doing a series overview.
Yeah. Chapter 10 though was a big deal though. I feel it was a very big deal.
Yeah, it did feel like it brought that conflict to a head. But there's also the implication that there are other people who've broken from stone with those smoke signals.
Yes.
So we're about to get some new characters, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next chapter very much so, especially after these last events. Like, I mean, is it okay we just jump right into chapter 10?
You want to go right into chapter 10? All right, going right into chapter 10.
So basically, the conflict with scientist guy and primate guy comes to a climax. Scientist guy has to go to a volcano and get the proper ingredients to make gunpowder.
He wants that sulfur so he can like make that gunpowder.
So he can stop and prevent primate guy from doing what he wants.
Although we never like you know I wanted to see him make like a Stone Age handgun. I really want to see him do that because to me that was like the sort of payoff. Oh, okay, you got gunpowder. Let's see you make a fucking gun. Where's your flintlock pistol, bitch?
Yeah.
out of timber.
Yeah, I was curious how they're gonna do that too, but apparently all he needed was gunpowder in order to have a working gun to fight at him. But I think you need a little bit more than just gunpowder to make a actual gun, you know. So anyway, primate guy eventually catches up with him because they see smoke signals from other potential human survivors. So they decide to make their own smoke signal, which alerts the presence of from
Primate Man.
Yeah, from Primate Man. So he finds the scientist guy and he's like, "Can't you just let go of science forever?" And we get this huge flashback of like how his whole life was built on science, or it's like his whole meaning of life was built on science. And
It was a sweet flashback. I kind of like that flashback because it goes against the grain of usual flashbacks we could get, which were like sob stories. Like a traditional shonen flashback would basically be like, "No, you'll never learn science. You're too stupid, and I'm not going to buy you a telescope." While he uses his science powers to still pursue science or some bullshit like that.
yeah.
But instead, it's just sort of like, he just says, I want to go to space. I want to learn about science. And then one day his dad for Christmas gets him all the science gadgets, and he just like goes wild.
Yeah. So he lived a pretty fulfilling childhood and met Taiju. Taiju's the only character's name I remember somehow. This is weird.
Endurance guy. So go on.
Endurance guy is equal to Taiju. Anyway, so they become childhood friends and they build experiments together, and they have their happy little childhood. And his whole meaning of life is basically science, and basically scientist guys like to primate guy. After the flashback is over, you're telling me to give up the one thing I just can't give up.
Yeah, there was I did like that sort of mutual understanding, and then of course we could have been friends.
Yeah, you could have been my friend if we didn't meet during this time.
Shonen Jump, the trump card, the friendships, and then the science guy's like, I'd rather, he just sort of accepts his death.
Yeah, and he's like, just make it quick, and the primate guy's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to render you unconscious and shatter your cervical bones."
Fucking smart too himself. He's not like on par with science guy, but he seems to know his shit.
Yeah, he knows a decent amount of shit. But yeah.
He knew about the nitric acid for the revival formula. He figured that out. He was smart enough to realize that they were making gunpowder and why that would be a threat to him. He's a pretty smart fellow. But Greg, do you think Dr. Stone will actually be dead?
I have no idea. I mean, he could be. That was such a dramatic turn. I'm not sure how he could have survived, dealing with the world's cheap mode fighting and versus cheap mode brains. I'm pretty sure fighting is going to beat the brains, though, in this situation.
I don't know. I mean, in a sense, I don't know what the bullshit explanation of how he's going to survive is, but I feel like this is definitely going to be a turning point where they become friends. And then he becomes like an ally.
You think? He's already killed people, though. He's killed stone people.
Like, I don't know how Dr. Stone's going to survive. I don't know what bullshit Deus Ex Machina.
He's not Dr. Stone. He's the scientist guy. Dr. Stone is the name of the manga. It's not the name of the scientist guy.
I like calling scientist guy Dr. Stone. I feel like he's Dr. Stone.
All right.
So scientist guy, I feel like he's going to survive. I don't know how. There's going to be some bullshit. He's the main character. You're not killing scientist guy. Scientist guy's the
He's
most
like
charismatic character.
sort of secondary main character.
No,
He's like the most
like,
interesting character so
he's
far,
like
I
the big
guess.
guy. He's like the big selling point, and nobody gives a shit about like fucking endurance guy. Endurance guy is like the only good thing that endurance guy does is he's an audience surrogate who's like we can identify with, because none of us are smart as scientist guy.
Yeah, exactly, I guess.
But hey, we're at least not as dumb as endurance guy. He's kind of stupid, but we're at least smarter than him, so we could be best friends with scientist guy.
I'm really curious. Like, it seems like he was just falling to his death at that point.
Well, they just show him like get whacked, and it was like this big dramatic thing. You seem so sold in this death, Greg. You really think it's gonna happen?
I don't know. This is a brand new manga. It's hard to tell. Like, they showed already, like, Primate Guy breaking a bunch of statues of people.
Yeah, but like that's like such a benign way to murder people because it's like a fantasy way, and it's not like the same as like smacking someone's head off or stabbing them in the heart or like some other brutal method.
Yeah, but still, the series is like in its infancy. It's just,
I mean,
I don't know how they're gonna handle death.
Kill off scientist guy. I would like to say, oh my god, best manga ever, 10 out of 10, you have balls of steel. This is so impressive and immense. This is my favorite series ever, just because it would be so bold.
I mean, they probably have invested a lot in this character. I mean, he is a major selling point to like the cover art and stuff like that in the manga.
He's basically like the mascot for I Fucking Love Science, the Facebook page.
Yes. He's like what Bill Nye the Science Guy wish he was,
Yeah, he's like, fuck Bill Nye the Science Guy. Dr. Stone with his E equals MC squared little fucking robe is like, the hero for children,
Because every scientist wants like some, sort of caveman-esque E equals MC squared kind of robe. To stylize their science.
That lets you know he's smart, Greg. The most basic, overused science thing lets you know he's smart. It's a good character choice.
Yeah.
It's kind of dumb, but like I love the enthusiasm of the series, and I do feel like this is what's going to teach children of the next generation. Dr. Stone is what we don't need boring Bill Nye. God, have you heard about the new Bill Nye TV series?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, there's some painful stuff where he's like trying to like basically do the same shit he did in his kids show, but he's like trying to update it for millennials. So there's this like song called like "Sex Junk," where it's basically talking about how sexuality is a spectrum, and then so they have like this woman from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. She's like, oh my sex junk, oh, it's either or. Channing, it doesn't matter if it's Channing or Jana Tatum. I date them both. It's like the most. I'll send it to you after I'm recording this video. It's like the most awkward, cringeworthy. Like it's basically the kind of thing. It was like hilarious. The comments of the video were basically saying like, "All right, I'm a God-fearing Christian now. I'm going back to church."
Yeah,
it's like
I have to see that in context in order to understand.
You'll understand. It's like they're trying to be like this ultra provocative Lady Gaga thing, and it's just it's so bad. So there you go. Bill Nye's old. Bill Nye's terrible. We need a bipartisan scientist guy to be the I Fucking Love Science mascot to get kids into STEM science.
Is this a Sentai series?
No, this is a Seinen. This is a Seinen series, Greg. It's running in fucking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a Seinen series. It's a Shonen series.
Shonen. That's what I meant.
Yeah, like there's nothing here that's like you've seen a Seinen series. And it's running a motherfucking Shonen Jump, Greg. What do you think?
All right, fine.
It's completely, but I'm excited for the future of the series. I love that flashback about his love for science and exploration. It was like probably my favorite chapter in the most recent one of this arc, and I'm super excited to go because it can go anywhere. I wonder if his like long-term ambition in the series is like rebuilding technology to the point where he can actually go to space. Because I did love that moment where he like builds the rocket and then the little dolls are in space and you're like, yay, oh, that's so cute, kawaii, yay, Dr. Stone Science Man, I love you.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll make a Stone Age rocket ship. It'll launch to space for no reason.
And maybe that'll be the end of the series. That like he's like advanced science and he learns some fantasy shit about the stone world that like lets him like go to science and he goes to like he's like the first man on the moon in like 40 years or 3,000 years.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll ever get an explanation for the stone phenomenon. Do you want one, Greg, or you?
I honestly don't care at this point. Like, maybe one day they can just like briefly explain it. Maybe. I mean, maybe it's like something like even bigger. Like God decided, to wipe out humanity once again, and start from anew or some shit like that. But I don't know. Or it could be like aliens that did it as well.
Oh my god, that would be ballsy shit. Like somehow, like scientist guy meets God and he's like a super atheist. And, like, you're not the creator. You're just an unexplained phenomenon that is a higher intelligence of this world. But there is no God. There are just only things that we understand and those we don't. And we will learn how you work in years to come.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so far I would rate this series as 9 out of 10 right now.
It's very good. Like I wouldn't like. How do you think it compares to Promised Neverland, though, in the sense that like it's like two series about like characters that like don't have powers?
Promised Neverland right now.
That is the thread that like connects these two. Although they're obviously tonally very different.
Promised Neverland right now. Jeez. It's really hard to compare these two. This series just feels like so fresh, fun, and energetic, and like I'm looking forward to how they're gonna continue on with the rest of the story. But I mean, Promised Neverland was just so smart and intelligent, and built up to that major climax like so well. And now the climax is finished, and now I'm just like curious to see what they're gonna do next, because right now we're sort of like experiencing a transitional chapter from Promised Neverland to like whatever the major conflict is, I guess.
Yeah, the next major conflict, which is survival, just like the world of Dr. Stone. Although, you know what? This would be super lame, but can you imagine if they had like a fucking crossover?
That would be so stupid.
It would be so stupid, but it could work. Like they just keep on like wandering around, and they eventually run into the characters of Dr. Stone because they're like in like the 3,000 year world.
It'd be like a stupid dumb gag. Oh, that's another thing I like about this manga. This manga, Dr. Stone has a lot of great gag moments, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of like playful gag moments and like funny faces and facial factors, and it takes itself seriously, but not too seriously. It's definitely like this is a fun time.
Yeah, it's a very it's not like super serious kind of series like Promised Neverland is. Promised Neverland is very serious. I feel like
there's like a playfulness to it, but yeah, it's very grim. It's very, these are life and death stakes. These are Death Note mind games that are going on. Everything's very well plotted. Everything's very well laid out, and there are all these like great character reveals, great character moments.
I mean, I almost don't want to compare the two series because I think they fill their roles like
so totally different.
Yeah. I don't know. Right now, Promised Neverland, it just accomplished its huge, amazing climax. And so now there's obviously going to be a slight dip in, the action and whatnot. But, I mean, I'm hoping there's going to be some really great things with Promised Neverland in the future. And this series right now, it's not even up to its like major climax, but it's like getting there.
Well, here's the interesting thing about like with Promised Neverland, I demand answers, like its universe demands answers, context. Well, Dr. Stone, like I couldn't give a shit about why people. To me, it's just an excuse that like to put them in an isolated world and advance to the far future where they have to rebuild.
Yeah.
And to me, rebuilding is such an interesting conflict that I never need an explanation for why everything turns to stone. It doesn't matter.
I could see that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I couldn't give a shit. Like just how like you're not supposed to give a shit about like what is the cause of the zombie outbreak in Walking Dead. It just Romero zombies. I couldn't give a shit about the Stone and Doctor Stone. And, I just want to see them rebuild civilization and all the stuff they go through. To do in order to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that.
But this was a good chapter. I think it was definitely 8 or 9 for me. Chapter 10 of Doctor Stone.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say a 9 for this chapter. Like it's really getting intense with this kind of conflict. I didn't expect the series to take such a dramatic turn so quickly. Because like the characters were so one dimensional in the beginning, and then once the primate guy showed up, like things got way more intense and like dramatic, and yeah, I like it so far.
It's definitely it's one of the most promising series that's come out of Jump in a long while, and it'll be interesting. I got you on the ground floor. You can say you were there if it ever becomes big, if it ever gets a good anime. It's got a long fucking way to go. If Promise Neverland still has eons to go before it gets an anime, then like Doctor Stone, only 10 weeks into its run, has a long way to go before whether or not to see if it has the goods. But I have a good feeling about this one. I think it has a good chance of staking a claim and becoming one of the big possible things that could fill the vacant hole that's left by Bleach and Naruto.
I agree. It looks like it's going to be a good series. Besides that, I mean, is there anything else you feel like needs to be said about this series?
No, I think we covered the gamut. I think we covered like the first few chapters. I don't know. What do you think of Love Interest Girl?
Very cutely drawn. I like how the artist rendered her.
Well, one thing I'm kind of impressed about her is that, if you go look at Sunken Rock, there's a lot of, super erotic, a lot of boobs and whatnot, because it's like this, it's supposed to be this manga, a manhwa, about this guy who's like a Yakuza or gangster kind of guy, but he's a good gangster, a heroic gangster. So there's, a lot of, strippers and other erotic, things. And, it's interesting to see him, show a lot of restraint, even though it's she's kind of in this erotic outfit where the things there's flesh on the sides.
Yeah, I mean, you could sort of tell likes to draw, beautiful, sexy women
sexy,
and stuff.
Sexy kawaii girls. He loves them sexy kawaii girls. But someone's holding back, which is nice.
It's more restrained, I think.
Yeah, it's a very tasteful design. Although we'll see if she ever establishes herself beyond cute love interest girl.
Yeah, I'm wondering if she has any skills that she can add. Maybe she's super doctor woman or something like that, because they were talking about they need someone to cure people from sicknesses and stuff like that. Because
would be cool.
Sickness would be game over. Game over, according to Doctor Guy.
Man.
According to a scientist guy.
Yeah. I hope they give her some sort of school hobby that she did that's somehow useful. Although, oh man, it would get so much heat if it's just cooking or some shit like that.
I don't know.
You can cook while we go hunt and gather.
She'll hopefully have some more. She'll have a good use.
Although I am interested to see what I am interested to see who the new girl is, because they showed her a silhouette of her and her character design looks very interesting. So I think next chapter we'll probably see a new girl introduced.
Maybe, yeah.
It was definitely a good cliffhanger. So we'll tune in next week. We'll see. In place of One Piece, we'll probably be reviewing Chapter 11 of Dr. Stone.
All right. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I think anything else you want to add, Greg?
That was about it. I'm just excited for the series. Super excited. I guess we should head out, and I get to do some stuff.
Yep. Well, we're gonna we're gonna go sit back and maybe watch some anime. We'll see if we do reviews tonight. We might be tired. Maybe we'll have endurance to like do them up. But we want to go. So we'll probably go do our watch My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you stuck this long, I hope you enjoyed our ramblings. I hope you find us amusing. I hope you enjoyed this awesome Blue Yeti microphone. I hope my audio is like 10 times better than it was before and much more tolerable. Again, it was a pleasure having your company with this video. Like, subscribe, share, send us a comment. We'll probably reply to it because not many people send us comments yet because we're still in the infancy. Just like Dr. Stone is in the infancy of its manga run, we are in the infancy of getting in the manga, anime, weeboo, YouTube business. So like, comment, subscribe, give us validation. Let us know that you like the sound of our voices so we can know that we're not just screaming into the eternal blankness of the internet, hoping our voices are heard.
All right. I'll see you guys then.
See you guys until we figure out a good. See you in the next one until we find out until we think up of a better catch and sign off line.
All right.